Lightyear bombed. So who's to blame? Should Disney and Pixar have cast Tim Allen? Or should they have just left the Toy Story universe alone? Everyone's got their guesses, but this is the real reason why Lightyear bombed at the box office. Lightyear still has a way to go at the box office, but as of the making of this video, it has earned a little less than $160 million worldwide against a reported $200 million budget.
What?
The big problem is that it has to contend with competition in the form of Minions: The Rise of Gru, which is going to cut into its legs at the domestic box office. Lightyear opened with a soft $50.5 million, losing out to Jurassic World Dominion, which was in its second weekend of release. This is on the very low end for a Pixar film, and even though it marked the biggest opening weekend for an animated film since the pandemic began, it's all relative in the movie business. The steep decline in its second weekend signaled things were going to go from bad to worse.
I forgot. You're broken. I don't want to play with you anymore.
That $200 million budget doesn't account for marketing, meaning that the film probably cost well over $300 million all told. And given that studios only see roughly half of the money earned at the box office after theaters take their cut, Disney isn't going to get anywhere near profit during the theatrical run of this movie. No two ways about it. This is not what Disney had in mind when they opted to get creative with the Toy Story franchise and gave the green light to this spin-off. So what happened? Angus MacLane, the same filmmaker who helped to make Finding Dory a $1 billion hit, was in the director's chair, with Chris Evans on board as the voice of Buzz Lightyear. Those pieces didn't add up to a hit this time, but why exactly? It's easy to see how Disney would be won over by the idea of a Toy Story spin-off centered on Buzz Lightyear, especially with the guy who played Captain America taking on the lead role. That allowed the filmmakers to craft a sci-fi adventure tale with some familiar imagery to anchor it. That seems like a hit on paper. However, in practice, it seems this is simply a movie that not enough people in the marketplace were clamoring for. There was also an issue with the marketing, as social media was awash with jokes about the somewhat convoluted premise. Producer Galen Sussman even had to address this confusion just as the movie was making its way to theaters, admitting, "People were having a hard enough time wrapping their heads around this, so really we needed the toy in the Toy Story universe to be its own thing." Tim Allen is Buzz Lightyear the toy. Chris Evans is Buzz Lightyear, the superhero from that movie that inspired the toy. Ultimately, this was meant to be the movie that Andy from Toy Story watched that inspired the toy Buzz Lightyear. To what degree the marketing is responsible for the film's failure is difficult to measure precisely, but the big thing is that Disney may have overestimated the reach this film could have, even if it probably felt like as close to a sure thing as the movie business is capable of affording a studio. One thing that some fans of the franchise seemed to be missing was actor Tim Allen, who is deeply associated with the character of Buzz Lightyear.
I'm Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger, Universe Protection Unit.
Granted, the filmmakers have made it clear that Allen is the toy and Chris Evans is the character in the in-universe film. Still, the absence of a voice that anchored 4 Toy Story films was felt. It even generated controversy, as actress Patricia Heaton said on Twitter, "Disney Pixar made a huge mistake in not casting my pal Tim Allen. Tim Allen in the role that he originated, the role that he owns. Tim is Buzz. Why would they completely castrate this iconic, beloved character?"
What? What are you talking about?
Although it's unlikely for a large enough number of fans frustrated over Tim Allen's absence to account for the lackluster box office overall, it may well have had an impact. During the pandemic, Disney had to make some very tough choices when theater closures delayed the release of major films. One key decision was releasing both Soul and Luca directly to Disney Plus at no additional cost, much like they did with Onward, which had its theatrical run cut very short by the early days of the pandemic. In contrast, movies like Black Widow and Mulan were released via Disney Plus Premier Access, meaning subscribers had to pay an additional $30 to watch them upon release. This in turn may have changed the way viewers valued Pixar as a brand, as its price was effectively set at free. This perception may have been furthered when Turning Red, a $175 million budgeted Pixar original, was also released directly to Disney Plus at no additional cost to subscribers earlier in 2022. This was done at a time when theaters were seeing solid business, which may have signaled to viewers that Pixar is something that can now be seen for free at home. In turn, Lightyear and other future Pixar films may have been damaged by this altered perception. Consumer habits are easy to change, and 2 years' worth of Pixar going directly to Disney Plus may well have been enough to do exactly that. Disney has some difficult decisions to make in the wake of Lightyear underperforming at the box office. Those decisions may not be made right away, but the future of Pixar may well hinge on how the studio responds to this setback. In the meantime, there are a couple of big lessons that can be extracted from the somewhat surprising failure this film has endured. First and foremost, Hollywood remains very franchise obsessed. Franchise films are as close to a guarantee as any studio can get in the ever-changing, streaming-dominated marketplace. That said, just because something is connected to a franchise doesn't mean that people automatically want to see it. Sony had to learn that the hard way with Morbius.
In certain respects, I've succeeded far beyond anything I could have imagined.
It can certainly be a leg up on the path to success, but it's no guarantee. Perhaps a Toy Story spin-off of some kind could have been successful, but this clearly wasn't the winning formula. Beyond that, Pixar was once one of the most reliable brands in all of cinema, a string of hits spanning nearly 3 decades and close to $15 billion at the global box office. And it all started with Toy Story. Not only that, but this was a brand that was capable of churning out original hits regularly as well as sequels. The fact that Disney so quickly opted to turn these expensive potential box office hits into streaming plays now feels like a major error. Yes, Disney Plus and streaming is a big part of the company's future, but Pixar may have been devalued as a result of these choices, and that just might prove to be a costly decision in the long run. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more SlashFilm videos about your favorite sci-fi movies and TV shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.